Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty interesting. It's how we measure how smart AI language models are.
Yeah, those AIs, the ones that can write stories and answer questions, even have conversations.
Exactly. You'd think testing them would be straightforward, right?
Right, you would think so, but it turns out how we ask the AI those questions really changes how well they do.
Yeah, and today's deep dive is all about a research paper called In Case You Missed It, ARC Challenge is Not That Challenging.
And it really digs into how some tests might not be as hard as they seem, especially this one called the ARC Challenge.
Like, how tricky can a multiple choice test be?
Let me ask you this. Have you ever taken a multiple choice test where you could only see one answer choice at a time?
No, that sounds awful.
Right, but that's basically what's happening with AI sometimes. It's called the separation method.
So it's like a pop quiz for each possible answer without knowing the other options.
Pretty much. And it's not how we humans take tests.
Yeah.
We like to see all the choices, compare them, maybe even eliminate some.
Makes sense. That's the options method, right?
Yeah.
So we're giving the AI a disadvantage from the start.
Yeah, kind of like a handicap. And this paper we're looking at says that tiny difference can change the results a lot.
So this separation method, why even use it if it's so weird?
Well, the researchers actually have a name for the problem. They call it hardly answerable in separation.
Catchy.
Right. And it makes sense. Some questions you just can't answer unless you see all the choices.
Okay, I need an example.
Okay, so imagine this question. Which of these items contains only a solution? And the AI only sees the words, a jar of pickles.
Is a jar of pickles a solution? I guess it depends what problem you're trying to solve.
Exactly. Like if you need a pickle, it's the perfect solution.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to fix a flat tire, not so much.
So without context, it's impossible to know the right answer.
And that's the point. But if the AI also sees other options like a can of mixed fruit or a toolbox,
Then it becomes way more obvious that solution means something that solves a problem, not just any random thing.
you got it. Context is key. And this is especially important for tests like the ARC challenge, which is supposed to test how well AI can reason.
Okay, so what happens when you actually test this out?
Well, the researchers tested a pretty powerful AI model called Llama 3.170B. First, they used the separation method.
So like giving the AI one answer at a time.
Yep. And its accuracy was 64%. Not terrible, but not amazing either.
Okay, what about with the options method?
Get this. When they switched to showing all the answer choices, the accuracy jumped to 93%.
Ooh, that's a huge difference.
It's like we were holding the AI back without realizing it.
So what does this tell us about AI? Are we underestimating what it can do just because we're testing it the wrong way?
That's the big question, isn't it? And the crazy part is this isn't just happening with the ARC challenge. The researchers found the same thing with other tests, too.
Really? Like what?
Well, there's one called Open Book QA. And again, just switching from separation to options boosted the accuracy of the same llama model from 48% to 89%.
Okay, so this is a pattern. We give the AI all the answer choices, and suddenly it's doing way better. But what does that really mean, like for how we understand AI?
Well, think about this on that Open Book QA test. When tested fairly with the options method, the AI actually did better than the average human.
Wow. So we might be totally wrong about what AI can and can't do.
Yeah, this study is shaking things up. It's making us rethink what we thought we knew about AI's limitations.
So maybe AI is smarter than we give it credit for. It's just been stuck taking bad tests this whole time.
Maybe. And that's why this research is so important. It's pushing us to develop better ways to evaluate AI.
Because if we're using the wrong tools, we're going to get the wrong answers.
Exactly. And that could have big consequences for how we decide to use AI in the real world.
It's a good reminder that we need to be careful about how we measure things, especially when it comes to something as complex as intelligence.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. It's not just about AI, it's about us and how we make sense of this rapidly changing world.
It's like we're all figuring this out together. AI researchers, developers, and even us just trying to understand what it all means.
Exactly. And that's what makes these conversations so important. So let's dive deeper into this research and see what else we can uncover.
So if giving the AI all the answer choices at once is so much better, it makes you wonder why anyone would even use that separation method.
That's what I was thinking too, and it's really what these researchers are arguing against. They're saying, like, we need to be fair to the AI.
Right. Like, it's not a real test of intelligence if the test itself is rigged.
Exactly. We want to know what AI can actually do, not how well it can deal with a weird test format.
But I guess there are times when seeing one answer choice at a time might make sense.
You're right, there are. Like, think about those simple yes or no
Oh, yeah,
questions.
like, is the sky blue? You don't need to
Yeah.
see other options for that.
Exactly. But for tougher questions, those ones that make you really, especially the multiple choice ones.
Yeah, those ones are the worst.
The paper says stick to the options method for those. It's just more natural. It's how our brains work, and it gives us a much better idea of what the AI can really do.
It's like giving the AI the same advantage that a human test taker would have.
Exactly. And that's not just about getting the AI a higher score. It's about really understanding what it's good at and what it struggles with.
Right, because then we can figure out how to improve it, how to use it responsibly, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting. This isn't just theoretical. This has real-world implications.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Okay, so imagine this. We're using a test to decide whether an AI is ready to be used in healthcare, maybe to help doctors diagnose patients.
That's a big responsibility.
It is. But what if that test suggests the AI lacks social intelligence? Like maybe it can't understand human emotions or something.
Because it was tested with that separation method.
Exactly. And because of that, we might decide not to use the AI at all, even though it could potentially help a lot of people.
Wow, so a flawed test could actually hold back progress.
It could. And that's just one example. This applies to all sorts of areas where we're using AI to make decisions.
So it's not just about the AI getting smarter, it's about US getting better at understanding HOW to measure its intelligence.
Exactly. And that's a pretty big shift in perspective.
It's like we've been using the wrong tools to measure AI this whole time.
Yeah, it's like using a broken ruler to measure something. You're going to get the wrong measurements and make bad decisions based on that.
So this study is like a wake-up call.
Yeah.
It's saying, hey, we need to be more careful about how we evaluate AI.
Absolutely. We need to be rigorous and thoughtful, always making sure our methods are fair and accurate.
And it's not just about looking at the numbers on a test. We need to actually understand what's going on inside the AI, how it's thinking.
Exactly. And what's so cool is that AI is always evolving. What might seem like a limitation today could be gone tomorrow.
Like with the right training and better testing.
Exactly. It's a super exciting time to be working with AI, but we need to stay critical.
Yeah, this deep dive has shown me that we can't take anything for granted. We need to constantly challenge our assumptions.
Right. Even with something as cutting edge as AI.
AI is still in its early stages,
It is. It's like a kid learning to ride a bike. We wouldn't expect them to win the Tour de France right away.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't judge AI based on bad tests.
Nope. The main thing to remember is that how we test AI really changes how we see its abilities.
And that changes how we use it in healthcare, education, transportation, all of it.
So the next time you hear about some amazing new AI or some AI that seems to have failed,
Yeah.
take a second to think about how it was measured. The method might surprise you.
And it goes back to that idea of bias. Even when we're trying to be objective.
We can still bring our own assumptions into it.
Absolutely.
So our understanding of AI is always changing.
It is. And the more we learn about how to test it fairly,
The more we'll learn about what it can really do.
Exactly. It's all about unlocking that potential. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like how something as simple as changing the way we ask a question can completely change how we see AI.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. And it makes you wonder, what other things are we missing? What other biases or assumptions are out there that are affecting how we understand AI?
Right. It's like we've had these blind spots this whole time.
Yeah.
And this research is like someone just turned on the lights.
Exactly. And it's a good reminder that we can't just take things at face value. We need to be constantly questioning our methods and interpretations.
Absolutely. Like we need to be more critical, more discerning, especially when it comes to AI. I mean, it's changing so fast.
It is. And there's so much information out there, so much hype. You really got to dig deeper and ask questions.
Like this deep dive, for example. It's been great to actually read the research. Not just rely on summaries or headlines.
Right, because those can be misleading sometimes. You need to go to the source, understand the details, the nuances.
So what can we do as individuals, to be more informed about AI?
Well, first of all, always pay attention to where the information is coming from.
Yeah, like who's saying it?
Exactly. Is it a company that's developing AI? Is it an independent research group? Is it a media outlet that might have an agenda?
It's like anything else, you got to consider the source.
Exactly. And watch out for those red flags, Sensational headlines, oversimplifications, lack of transparency about the methods they used.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. If something doesn't make sense, look for more information. There are tons of resources out there that explain AI in a way that anyone can understand.
Absolutely. And remember, this is an ongoing conversation. AI is constantly evolving, and so is our understanding of it.
So what might seem like a limitation today could be completely different tomorrow.
That's the exciting part. But it also means we need to stay engaged, stay curious.
Yeah, we can't just sit back and let AI happen to us. We need to be active participants in shaping its future.
Absolutely. And that starts with understanding how AI is being measured and evaluated.
Because that shapes how we use it, how we integrate it into our lives.
Exactly. So the next time you come across some news about AI, whether it's good or bad,
Yeah.
take a moment to think about how they reached that conclusion. How was it measured?
Yeah.
The method might surprise you.
It all comes back to that idea of being aware of our own biases,
Yeah.
even when we think we're being objective.
Absolutely. And remembering that our understanding of AI is constantly evolving.
The more we learn about how to evaluate AI fairly, the more we can unlock its true potential.
And who knows what amazing discoveries are waiting for us.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the fascinating world of AI evaluation.
Thanks for joining us.
And until next time, keep those minds sharp and never stop exploring.